Well, I say this just to show you what the Lord is doing today is to recover the missed things, the lost things, to recover the crucial things. Dear ones, we all have to realize, and I say this very, very warningly. What is this? Until the Lord could get this new man on this earth, he has no way to accomplish his purpose. We have to see, what is this one new man? To see this one new man, we need to see the old man. The old man. Why? Paul goes this way. Paul says, put off the old man and put on the new man. The man of man is a great thing in the Bible, right? After God created the heavens, the earth, and all the other things, having everything ready, then in the last day and in the last step, God created man. And don't forget, God never created two men or more than one man. God only created one man. God created man. So some translators insisted to translate this word man into mankind, because that one man is the mankind. That means what? That one man is something collective. Something collective. It is not just an individual man. Right? If you read Genesis 1, you could see, firstly, God used the singular noun, singular noun, man. But eventually, God used the plural noun, them. See? God created man, but them. Give them. Give them. And this indicates that man was not just individual. And that man was somewhat collective. God had no intention to use many individuals. God had no intention to use individuals. God's intention was, and still is, to use one man. And that old man, that one man, that collective man, we all know, was damaged. Now, there is the need to have a new man. To have a new man. In order to have this new man, listen, Christ not only needed to deal with sins, to deal with the old nature of the old man, to deal with Satan, the devil, to deal with the world. One important category of things was very vital, that needed to be taken away. I tell you, this is the ordinances. The ordinances should be taken away. Why? Eventually, the thing that frustrates God to come in to get the one new man is the ordinance. We must see this. We must see this. The last thing, the final thing that frustrates God from getting this one new man is ordinance. So, in the Bible, in the New Testament, the last thing, the final thing that Christ crucified on the cross was the ordinance. On the cross, I must mention this to you, not only your sins were crucified there. Not only you, as the old man, crucified there. Not only Satan and his word, all were crucified there, but the final item on the cross was the ordinance, crucified there. And this crucifixion of the ordinance is not for forgiveness. It's not for victory over Satan. It's not for holiness. It's not for imparting life. This is altogether for what? For the creating of one new man. You have to read verse 15 again and again. I do believe verse 15 is very, very strange, very new to all Bible readers. Let's study verse 15. Having abolished in his flesh the law of the commandments and ordinances, that he might create the two in himself into one new man, making peace. Having abolished in his flesh. While his flesh was nailed on the cross, he abolished the law of the commandments and ordinances, that he may create. That he may create the two, the Gentiles and the Jews, in himself into one new man. Some of you may check with me, brother, how do you say on the cross? Here it doesn't say on the cross. Don't forget, the end of this verse has a comma. So you have to read on to verse 16. And might reconcile both in one body to God through the cross, slaying the enmity by it. It. What? Cross. Slaying the enmity. What is enmity? The law of the commandments and ordinances. Right? Through the cross, by the cross. So this verse tells clearly that Christ abolished the ordinances through the cross. And Christ slew the enmity by the cross. For what purpose? Not for redemption. Not for imparting of life. Am I right? But for creating the two in himself into one new man, that he might create the two in himself, the one new man. Now, listen to this. When he went on the cross in the flesh, if you don't have the biblical view, you could realize when he went to the cross in the flesh, I tell you, he went there with all the old creation. All the old creation is wrapped in that flesh. He went to the cross in the flesh. And in that flesh, all the old creation is involved. It's involved. I don't like to say too much. You know, Hebrew 10 says that flesh is typified by the veil in the temple. I'm right? You know, on the veil in the temple was embroidered with what? With cherubims. With cherubims. Right? And cherubim signify what? Signify the living creatures. And that means the creatures were there on the veil. Can you see the picture? And the veil is a type of the flesh of Christ, in which he went to the cross. He went to the cross in the flesh, typified by the veil with all the cherubim. And this means what? This means upon his flesh, all the creatures are there. When he went to the cross in his flesh, he went there with all the creatures. Listen, when the veil in temple was riven, all the cherubims were also riven. That means what? That means when the flesh of Christ was crucified on the cross, all the creatures were crucified. You must have the biblical view. Anyhow, when Christ died on the cross, his death terminated. This is the way. Terminated what? All the old creation. Anything negative in the whole universe was terminated there. You have to read it careful, huh? Listen. Verse 15 says, having abolished in himself, read. Look at the verse and listen to my reading. Having abolished in himself the law of commandment and ordinance, that he might create the two in his flesh into one new man. What? You cannot switch. You cannot switch. You see? Having abolished in his flesh. This is to terminate the negative things in the flesh, that he might create the two in himself. And this is to germinate something positive. The things negative all were in his flesh. Could you follow me? And the thing positive, that is the new man, is in himself. But he didn't stop there. Right? We said again and again that death is the threshold of resurrection. Death ushers into resurrection. Right? Christ in the flesh, right, was crucified on the cross. But this death ushered him into what? Into resurrection. When he gets into resurrection, he's no more in the flesh. Am I right? He's no more in the flesh. He is the wonderful Spirit. When he gets into resurrection, he's the wonderful Spirit. I tell you, it was in his flesh we, as the old man, got terminated. But it is in the wonderful Spirit we have been what? Created into one new man. In order to create this one new man, he has slain all the ordinances. With what? With all our old man. When our old man, when our flesh, when our old nature was crucified on the cross, at the same time, the ordinances which were hanging upon our old nature were also slain there. When she crucified our old nature, he slain. She slew, all the ordinances. Then what? Then in his resurrection. In his resurrection. That means in his wonderful Spirit, we were all created into one new man. This is more than essential, because when we were there in Him, being created into the new man, some new element, some new essence has been, I tell you, wrought into our being. Today and tonight, we all have to believe this. We all have to believe this. If you don't believe that Christ on the cross took away your sins, you have to believe that on the cross, Christ has put you into Him. And in Him, He has created you with His divine essence into the one new man.